You're listening to the World's Team Podcast. It's not just America's team, Cowboys Nation. It's the world's team. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
How about them Cowboys?
What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to another episode of the World's Team Podcast, brought to you by the BLEAV Network and sponsored by Cowboys Experience. For the ultimate game day experience, be sure to go to www.cowboysexperience.com and use the discount code WorldsTeam2025. I am your host, Paul Stewart, and I'm joined as always by Mike Poland, and we have our very special guest. We have a fellow contributor to the BLEAV Network ourselves. It's David Bearman from Betting with Bearman. How are we doing, man? Sorry, I'm pure stuttering. I'm pure nervous right now. I do apologize.
All good. Happy to be with you guys. Yeah, Betting with Bearman, as you said, it's on the BLEAV Podcast Network. Happy to talk Cowboys betting. I think it's great you call it not just America's team, the world's team. I thought that was hilarious. You got me chuckling right from the beginning. It's great. It's great. The obsession with the Dallas Cowboys is a gift that'll keep on giving for many, many years.
No, that's true.
Yeah. Well, so far we don't kind of feel like that during the whole drama that's been going on with the Cowboys as of late. But yeah, man, we've got a lot to talk about. We would love to really dive into what you see in terms of the betting odds, and obviously we'll be presented by help with FanJoe, and so I guess the first question is, how do you see the Cowboys at this current moment in terms of the betting odds?
I mean, it's the greatest soap opera in the business, the Cowboys. You know, you guys call it drama. I just call it another day in Jerry world. It's ironic because for years, decades, however you want to call it, the Cowboys are such a public team, America's team, world team, that there's never, ever been value on betting on the Cowboys because the odds have always been shorter than they should be, meaning lower, because everybody bets on the Cowboys. They're the world's team, as you guys call it. So the odds have always been, you put them in the same neighborhood as the Lakers in basketball and the Yankees. And I'll even throw a Man City, Man United out there for you guys where the odds don't necessarily represent what the team is because everybody bets on them. Ironically, I think it's actually moved the other way. People are so down on the drama known as the Cowboys. Yeah, they won 12 games back-to-back season and then bowed out of the playoffs. And you got Dak's injury, you got CeeDee Lamb this, Zeke this, and now Micah Parsons that people just don't think the Cowboys are, as long as Jerry's there, they're never going to be good. And they've kind of accepted that, where I think the odds have actually shifted to a point where I think there is a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of value, Paul, on the Cowboys in terms of, listen, they're not going to win the Super Bowl, but you don't see Dallas Cowboys at 49 to 50 to 1 odds at FanDuel Sportsbook to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. You just don't see that. Even when they're not supposed to be good, they're usually in the 20s or 30s, and when they're good, they'll be in the 10s. But at 49 and 50 to 1 odds, so you're talking about the Arizona Cardinals, you're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're talking about Chicago Bears. Those are the teams that the Cowboys' odds are near. That's not normal. Even when the Cowboys deserve to be down there, their odds would be shorter than that. Again, I'm not advocating to bet on the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl, but you're getting much longer odds than you ever get. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, but even their win total at 7.5, you don't see that with the Cowboys. That's low. Like, even if the win total should be 8 or 9, it's usually 10 or 11 because everyone bets on the Cowboys. 7.5 with that division playing we'll talk about it in a minute, playing the AFC East. There are winnable games there. So we'll get into it, but I think the odds have shifted the other way where people are just like not even considering the Cowboys in contention or any of their players because it's such a mess there. And maybe Jerry has a plan. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. I don't know.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because me and Mike covered the whole draft process, and we noticed there was a common theme, especially with the draft, like from Tyler Booker to Donovan Izaraku to Siobhan Revel. All these guys had one thing in common. They were all leaders within their respective college teams. And it was like, okay, there's the theme. So that's the plan here. We're trying to bring like that different culture to this football team. And that's what we're seeing from Brian Schottenheimer as well. We've seen the video clips of him. Actually, if there's fights breaking out within the team, he's getting all the players doing laps. I was like, great. I love that. We're trying to bring that level of discipline to this football team because that was the problem that we had as a team last year and under the Mike McCarthy era was penalties. So I think we're moving in that good step or direction that way. So hopefully that will transcend going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that they're trying to do, and it's good that you mentioned that, because I haven't heard one positive thing from anybody about the Cowboys, from free agency to draft to camp to not signing players. So the fact that you can look at it and say they drafted guys with high leadership, maybe the evil Jerry Jones has a plan that nobody sees, because right now everybody is so down on them.
Yeah.
And you don't hear anything positive. Every day it's something negative, and you go no further than the Micah Parsons saga. But maybe you're right. Maybe they're trying to bring in positive leaders who can turn this team around, because you can't. I mean, look at the Yankees the last couple of days. They're losing to inferior teams because they can't run the bases, because they can't do the basics of baseball. And that's what the Cowboys have turned into, the basics of false starts and holding penalties and
Offside.
necessary roughness and penalties that are avoidable if you just play smart football.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing I kind of noticed as well. Like, just even from the standpoint, if you take away penalties aside, it's just that level of discipline. Like you just kind of mentioned, like passing, like on the defensive side of the ball, we've made some unnecessary roughness, like sacking the quarterback late. Like, we've seen some really silly penalties. I'm going to use this one as a reference, and even though this was 2 seasons ago, it was Jalen Tolbert like stepping like offside on the was it the Green Bay game, Mike?
Yep.
We did.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, we was offside. He was lining up offside.
Yep. So it's just like basics, and I think that's what we're trying to do here. And even like in terms of performance-wise, it's like we're trying to reestablish the run. Like, we've brought in like a whole new running back core, which is still a big question mark. Where are we sitting at? So far from what we've seen so far, Jaden Blue looks pretty good. He could be used as a gadget weapon, catching the ball. We're seeing like a Williams, sorry, looking pretty decent as well. Turpin, despite the drama he had a couple of weeks ago, less we get into that, the better. But he's actually looking really pretty good in camp, and also with the likes of George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, they really are amping it up. And this is the thing that me and Mike have been a big advocate for, is about the whole Jonathan Mingo situation. Is like, people need to remember, we only drafted him halfway through the season last year. He didn't get to work with Dak Prescott. So to me, this is like a big, massive reset button for Mingo. And we already are seeing that significant improvement. He's making some really good catches, going deep down the field. And I was like, this could be our wide receiver number 3 right now.
Yeah, and obviously the trade value for Mingo, everyone laughed at it at the time. And maybe the Micah Parsons situation is overshadowing the good that's going on in camp, that maybe the Cowboys are actually...
That is so true.
You don't know if the Cowboys are having a good camp or not, because the only thing people are talking about is Micah and what CeeDee Lamb said about Jerry Jones and this and that. And you're not hearing about the stuff that you just mentioned. So I think that maybe they're having a sneakily quiet, good camp that people are unaware of, because everyone's concentrating on the drama at Jerry World.
Yeah, and Mike kind of mentioned as well from last time we were covering like the latest updates from training camp. Like, the big name for us right now, and we're a big fan of this player in particular, is our second rounder Donovan Ezaraku. Like, he is looking tremendous at training camp, so we're really excited to see what he can do. Will he be in like first rotation, whatever not, or will he be second string? We don't know necessarily, but from the impact that we've seen him in the terms of the first team reps he's been getting right now, and obviously with Micah being out, we're seeing a lot more of Ezaraku as of right now. So I don't know if that's going to play effect going into the start of the season, that we're going to see a lot of him right now, but he is looking pretty good right now.
The irony is what you're seeing with Donovan Ezaraku would be what it kind of looks like if they did end up trading Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because, when people talk about the odds and people talk betting on the Cowboys, no one's paying attention to Jonathan Mingo. They're paying attention to Micah Parsons. And you can take advantage of the fact that people are all talking negative when the team might not be as bad as people think.
Yeah. And the other part as well, a certain player was coming through, and I don't know if it changes the odds all that much on the Cowboys, but you've got undrafted free agent, more particularly Trayshawn Holden, wide receiver, who's at the moment, and he's a kick returner as well. He can do kick returns. He's having an absolute incredible time in Oxnard at the moment. Has a big day at the start of the week. Does that again and reproduces it and replicates it. Does it again then yesterday, catching deep balls. And this guy, I think, he could be impressive. You've got to be careful, I think, with these type of guys, though, the ones where you've got question marks on, because this is why I don't know if it affects the odds too much, because you always get, like those camp warriors who are fantastic at camp, get to a preseason game, and you kind of go, well, there's something there, and then all of a sudden you get to the regular season, and they just fall off a shelf.
Yeah, the odds won't change much, if at all, with anything that goes on in camp. Obviously, if there's very few players that'll move the needle with preseason odds. Yes. Now, once the season starts and games come play, there are things that'll change. But like, if Micah got traded, which I think we all will agree is not going to happen, but if it happened, would they move? I don't think they would move much, because enough money is bet on the Cowboys in general that the books don't want to have heavy liability.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Moving the Cowboys from 50 to 70, and then it could move a little. Micah is one of the few players in football, you can probably count them on maybe 3 hands, that'll move future odds, because Micah is that good. But with the Cowboys being such a public team, it wouldn't move much.
They'd be too nervous.
Yes, there would be 2, because the last thing you want the books want to do is move it from 50 to 75, and all of a sudden they get tremendous money on the Cowboys, and the Cowboys turn around, and there's just too much liability. And again, the Cowboys aren't going to win the Super Bowl, but the win total is not going to change. The division odds not going to change much, because as far as people are concerned, it's a 2-team race, and I don't think the NFC odds will move much at all either.
I'm so glad you mentioned a bit like the NFC East odds right now, because I was talking to a few other Cowboys content creators, and they did kind of mention Washington, which is quite interesting. Based on their last year's schedule, like, it wasn't the strongest schedule they had last year, and they did well in terms of the playoffs. But just like with them having a much more difficult schedule this year, do you think their odds are definitely weakened this year?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the division in general, the Eagles are the odds-on favorite at -135, as they should be, being the defending Super Bowl champs. Washington's 2-1. Dallas is +550, and the Giants, we don't even need to waste time, they're 25-1 to win the division. And some people would say, well, it's been, I don't even remember the numbers, at 20, 25, whatever consecutive years the NFC East has had a different champion.
Correct,
so it can't be Philadelphia. It can be. Like, that's a trend. It's a funny trend, but it's also a trend that means nothing when it comes to the odds. Like, Eagles winning the division again isn't going to surprise no one. They are the Super Bowl champs, but it doesn't take much for a team not to repeat an injury here. Obviously, if Jalen Hurts goes down or Barkley goes down, that changes the entire nature of the division. The Commanders are 2-1, and I think in general, people think, all right, this is a young team. For the most part, last year, people thought that they were ahead of where they should have been as a rookie quarterback, first-year head coach. They thought it would take a couple of years for the Commanders to be competitive. They were still in the NFC East race until the end. They made it to the NFC title game versus the Eagles, even though they were literally blown out after the first quarter. I don't think they're as good as the Eagles, and the odds show that. I don't mind the 2-1. Only because the Eagles are an injury, like every team, an injury or 2 away. Like, I wouldn't advocate betting it, because I think the Eagles are going to run away with the division. They're the best team in the division. Yeah, but if there's anybody that you think could win it, it would be the Commanders. And if you look at the odds of the other second place teams, you got, +250 for the Packers, +220 for the Falcons, +180 for the Rams. The Rams are the only second place team that I would say has a better shot at winning the division than all the others. But the Commanders would be right there. Like, I actually think the Rams, and that's one of my favorite plays, the Rams are the better team in that division. I have no idea why the Niners are favored. But looking at the other ones, like, I wouldn't advocate that the Commanders are going to win the division. But if you're looking for a play that has, I would rather take the Commanders than I would take the Falcons. I would rather take the Commanders before I took the Packers. And if you reverse what I think is a mistake and put the Niners as second, I would rather take the Commanders than the Niners too. So I think they are the best second place team if you put the Rams as the best team. And there is value on that. If you don't think the Eagles are going to repeat, then taking the Commanders is not the world's worst bet.
So does the odds or your opinion not change on the Commanders, though, knowing that a guy like Terry McLaurin is looking to seek a trade and get out of that team? Because a lot of the offense runs through him.
I mean, I look at McLaurin the same way I look at Micah Adams. This is all posturing. This is all contract negotiations. I don't see either of them going anywhere. And if you wanted to bet on what the next team's going to be, I think Terry McLaurin's next team's going to be the Washington Commanders. Like,
okay,
he's there. It's posturing. I think at the end of the day, they get it done. If they wind up trading him, everything the Commanders have done recently has been positive. So I think they would get a good deal for him. They would probably get a receiver back. Him being gone would change the dynamic of the plus 200 to win that division, or even their win total, which is at 9.5. I just don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think Mike is going anywhere. You rarely see these preseason holdouts or hold-ins, or whatever you want to call them, actually end in trades. Now, off season, it happens all the time. It's just a lot of posturing where the players are like, all right, now I'm supposed to report to camp, so I have the leverage where I can hold out. Well, you're also costing yourself money by not playing. But you're thinking that you have the team by the you-know-whats. At the end of the day, it's whoever blinks first. The Commanders know they have a legit shot to compete. Like, they were ahead of the curve last year, bringing guys back. They had a good offseason. Daniels isn't getting any worse. He's going to get better. He's a leader. They have a shot. Obviously, there's a team above them in the division that won the Super Bowl. Yeah. But I think the Commanders will give in at some point because they need McLaurin. And I think they'll get McLaurin. It's posturing. There's no reason to trade him. I think the Micah situation is a little different because it has deteriorated to the point that they're not on the same page.
You hear about the relationship falling apart.
Right. And you have a different guy in charge. I just think at the end of the day, Harris and the Commanders will get it done with McLaurin. Does it get done before game one?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And Dan Quinn is that sort of guy who just likes to get stuff done. You know, he's not. He's a bit of a no nonsense
straight to
guy.
The point, mate. Yeah, he's very, very straight to the point. And I just kind of wish that was like us. It came to like doing contracts, like we just did with Jake Ferguson. We just did that out the blue, like no questions asked. Like, oh yeah, we just extended Jake Ferguson. Great, but we should have got Micah done first. Why is there such a disconnect with this?
Me personally, I think that's where the frustration comes from, which I think is unfair. That people are angry for the wrong reasons. That they're like, oh, Jake Ferguson's got done. I'm angry at this because we're still waiting for Mike. And it's like, you're kind of angry at the wrong things. Like, Jake Ferguson's done. That's great. On the scale of it all, he's only 30 million per, and you've still got the likes of Witten. You say, I don't. Yeah, you still got the guys like Kittle who are looking to get a contract extension. That's gonna bump it up. You've got these other guys who are starting to come through who are all going to be coming up for contracts, and that just drops.
Bowers in a couple of years, etc. Like
you got quite a few guys, you know, and like all these guys will be getting paid more than him, and I think you're kind of getting angry. I don't know what you guys think, but I just think people getting angry with Jake Ferguson getting a contract, angry for the wrong reasons, personally.
There'll be multiple 30 for 30 specials 10 years from now on the brain of Jerry Jones. No one quite understands it. And the only thing that I would fault Jerry at this point is waiting too long with these guys. Like,
definitely,
he paid more money for Dak. He paid more money for CD. He paid more money back in the day for Zeke. He waits too long. And maybe there's a reason we don't know. He's paying above market value for all these guys. He's going to do it again with Micah. I don't know what his strategy is, but at the end of the day, other than Byron Jones, which you mentioned off the air, he's gotten all these guys signed. It's not like they ever leave. Like, CD's still there. Dak is still there.
Yeah.
Like, Mike is going to be there. Now, every player and GM owner not necessarily on the same page as to when it gets done or how it gets done, but it's going to get done. You just hope it hasn't ruined the relationship to the point where the rest of the team becomes a mutiny, because I'd be more concerned about what CeeDee Lamb said than I would be about what Mike is saying. Because now you're talking about a player you have on your team that you did sign long-term, who did go through the same thing Mike is going through, still bash Shinnie owner years later. At the end of the day, like, owners are owners. I'm a fan of a team that I have absolutely no idea what they're doing. The Miami Dolphins. Like nothing they have done since the day they forced Dan Marino into retirement has made sense. Nothing. And these are the guys that get paid to do it. And Jerry sticks to his guns. And listen, the guy has won Super Bowls. I know he hasn't won anything in years.
30 years.
Like you hope it gets done, and I think it will get done at some point.
Yeah, totally. I guess in terms of the other rivals, like we haven't really spoken much about the New York Giants. I know they have improved. Like me personally, I think they have improved in terms of their roster. They obviously brought in Russell Wilson. They've just drafted Jackson Dart, but they brought in like Cam Scatterbo, the running back from Arizona State. Am I right there, mate?
Yeah, Arizona State.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Abdul Carter, defensive end from Penn State. So I think they've definitely made a good push to elevate themselves. But do you think with that and with the pressure of I believe Brian Dabbles is on his final year of his contract, like to really kind of push
he's
things
on the hot seat.
He's on the hot seat. He's definitely on the hot seat, that's for sure. But do you think this will maybe affect the Giants' odds of maybe like causing an upset?
Yeah, I mean, they also got Javon Holland from Miami in the offseason. I do think the Giants' roster is better. Like, it is better. They have upgraded. They had some good draft picks. I'm just not sold on the coaching staff. I didn't believe
that's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like he did go to the playoffs and win a playoff game right off the bat, which is always like it's I call it the Miami Dolphins. Like every new coach the Dolphins has goes and wins not wins a playoff game. They haven't won one.
Gets to.
Makes the playoffs, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, this is the best thing ever, and then it all goes downhill from there. And that's what's happened to Dabo. First year, make the playoffs, win a playoff game, and it's gone downhill. They gave Daniel Jones all that money. And now, it is having Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart going to save your job? Not so sure. Do they have an improved defense? Yeah, they do. The offensive line has always been the issue, and it's still going to be an issue.
Yeah.
The over-under is 5.5 on the Giants win total. Can they win 6 games? I think they can. I actually think that number is fairly good and set, and I wouldn't touch it either way. They do have the last place schedule. They do open up against 3 NFC West teams, so right off the bat, you're going to find out if they're good or bad. It's not the hardest schedule in the world, but they're without a doubt the worst team in the division, and I expect them to stay there. And I don't know what the number needs to be for Dabo to keep his job. I'm surprised he kept it anyway, but another 4-13 season or 5-12 season, I think you're saying goodbye. Yeah. If they win 6 or 7 games and improve and maybe, beat a Philadelphia or beat a Washington every once in a while, then I think he has staying power. Again, I don't know what the staying power number is, but I think 5.5 is right where it should be. I'm not even looking at the 25-1 to win the division or 230 to win the Super Bowl. The only real thing you can bet with the Giants is their 5.5 win total or player props on Russell Wilson or other, offensive players. So the Giants are not a team that I'm heavily invested in. Do I think they'll be better? A little bit. And I actually think the NFC East will be a lot stronger this year. You have the Super Bowl champs. You have a Washington team that's ahead of the curve. I think Dallas is better than people think, and I think the Giants will be improved. I don't think any of those teams are going to knock off Philadelphia, but the Giants will be a team that will have a win or two you don't see. They'll also lose a couple of games they shouldn't. And at the end of the day, they'll probably win 5 or 6 games, which is where the odds makers have it. So I don't think there's any edge there to the Giants other than the fact that if you were to look at the Giants, the Browns, the Saints, the teams that are at the bottom at 5.5, I think I would put the Giants and Browns ahead of the Saints when it comes to teams that could win 6 games, as opposed to the Saints who may not even win 3.
Yeah, the Saints kind of still puts a little bit of a horrible nightmare from last season because we were the favorites to win that game and we got absolutely decimated at home. So I was like, I think the Saints, even though I agree with what you're saying, but I think they could be one of those where the odds might be against them so much that they're complete underdogs. They may actually just absolutely go crazy. Like it's happened before. They did it with us. So
come out swinging.
Yep. Yeah. And the one thing that I would warn people, if people are betting on some of these teams at the bottom, whether it's the Saints or the Jets or the Giants, not so much the Jets since they have a new coach, but all it takes is a bad start for someone to get rid of Brian Daboll or get rid of Stefanski in Cleveland, and you bring in an interim coach, and that could change everything for better or for worse. You don't know who the interim coach could be, and you don't know if the team rallies behind them. We saw it in Vegas a couple of years ago with Pierce, where the team rallied behind Pierce and actually had a good season to the point where they kept Pierce, which ultimately worked against them. But them at typical Raiders football, you'd rally behind an interim coach only to see him leave a year later. I'm always concerned and hesitant to bet on these bottom feeder teams because you don't know if they're going to fire their coach after week 5 and they rally behind a new interim coach, and then, or it could go the other way. They could just quit and say, all right, well, we fire our coach, so we don't want to be here either, which you've seen in other situations like Chicago last year. Fired the coach and everybody quit. So I'm very, very hesitant to bet on the bottom teams. I do think that, and I had this conversation on the Steelers podcast the other day, I do think the Browns can win more than 5.5 games. I don't see.
No, I can see
they
that.
They have a complete mess at quarterback. We know that.
Yeah.
But this is a team that has the best defensive player in football on it. Can they win 6 games? I think they can. But you also have no idea what's going to. I mean, if Joe Flacco winds up your quarterback, last time that happened, they made the playoffs. So.
Go on, Paul. Go on. I got a question on the schedule.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when it comes to the likes of the Cleveland Browns, if you've got Joe Flacco, at least there's going to be some stability there. There's going to be not as much drama, because obviously you've got your 2 rookie quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and Sanders, yeah. So, and obviously the whole scenario with Deshaun Watson. So you've got 4 quarterbacks there. But if Flacco ends up being the quarterback, at least you kind of know what you're getting, and that can be a more of that consistent, because we've seen Flacco dip in and dip out of other teams, and he's been quite successful. Even with the Colts, he was taking over Anthony Richardson for a couple of games. He did pretty well there. So who knows what could happen there? But go on, Mike. Sorry about that.
No, because you mentioned the Raiders, and we said at the start of the show, I wanted to know how scheduling, not so much the teams, but how the schedule runs out for the Cowboys, particularly that they're facing the AFC South. Me and Paul are going to the Kansas game for Thanksgiving. But in terms of when you look because obviously they've got the Raiders in November, but it's an indoor stadium. But you've got Denver, which obviously Mile High Open Stadium, but it's at the start of the season. It's early October.
I think it's week 5, I believe.
Yeah, it's quite early in the season. So does that then sway the odds on how you would look at the Cowboys scheduling or any schedule? But I'm thinking more in terms of you're facing this AFC South, but the indoor stadiums, apart from Denver, that you face early, so that kind of helps the Cowboys out a little bit.
It does, and when I do win totals for the divisions, I do 2 things. First, I do a quick through WL, and I come up with an idea of how many wins I think the team could get. Yeah. Then I will break it down by who they play and when they play. And I did that just before the show, and I'll share what I have. I think this is a team that can go 3-3 in the division. That's what they've done. Even in bad years, they've gone 3-3 in the division because you play the Giants twice, and you're capable of stealing one against the other 2 teams. Playing the NFC North, which is tough. That's the tough part of the schedule. 2 of them are in prime time, which doesn't help you either. That could be a 1-3 scenario where the Cowboys are going to get more than 1 win against the NFC North. Then you're talking about the AFC West. You do get Kansas City and the Chargers at home. You get, to me, the 2 best teams in the division at home. And then you have the Raiders indoors, and you do get the Broncos early, like you said. I firmly believe they can go 2-2 against that division. And then the 3 other games you get are the 3 games, the last place schedule. Play the Jets, the Panthers, and the Cardinals. All 3 are winnable. That means they're going to win them. But you look at it, let's say you get 3 wins in the division, 1 win against the North, that's 4 wins. If you go 2-2 against the West, which you would take it, that's 6 wins. You can win Jets, Carolina, and Arizona. Even if you win 2 out of 3, that's 8 wins. The number's 7.5. So, maybe you go 2-4 in the division, but then you steal another game versus the North. Maybe you can go 3-1 against it. So there are different permutations. But to me, when looking at the matchups, if I go WL throughout the schedule, I have them at 9 wins. I think there's 9 wins on that schedule. You could also just say which 9 teams are the Cowboys going to beat, and there's 9 wins out there. Whether it's the Giants twice, the Jets, the Panthers, having, playing the Raiders indoors, playing the Bears. There are wins on that schedule, which is why I think they can win 9 games or 8 games. Sorry. And I know Cowboy fans won't be thrilled with an 8-9 season, but based on what the offseason was, based on what you're hearing so far, you'd probably sign up for an 8-9 season.
Yeah.
I think when we went through it, Paul, I think we've done 11. Did we do either 10 or 11 wins? I think we kind of went through, but we're biased.
I think.
By the way, on FanDuel Sportsbook, which is our official sportsbook here on BLEAV for podcast, you can move the number any which way you want. If you think, I'll pull it up right here as we talk. If you think that the Cowboys are going to win, would you say 10 games?
Yeah.
I think best case scenario, I think, was 11 and 11 and 6.
11 and 6, meaning you would bet the over 10.5. If you bet the over 10.5, that's plus 400 at FanDuel Sportsbook. So you get 4-1 odds if you really think they're going to be that good. Obviously, you start at 7.5. You go up to 10.5, you're going to get money. If you want to go bet, hey, they're going to win over 3.5 games, then you're laying money. You can do that at FanDuel. They have all the different options. You can go anywhere from 3, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, 11.5. The most you could bet is over 11.5, and you get 650 to 1. So if you think they're going to win 12 games, you might want to get your head checked, but you can get paid to do it. Your 11-win Cowboys are plus 400 at FanDuel. So go ahead, hey, 4-1 on your money. 100 wins you 400, and then you're a happy camper. Of course, if they go less than that, then you lose $100 and you're not happy as well. So
but I think in terms of the more realistic number is, I think it would be like more of a 9 and 8. And I was kind of discussing this with other. We're doing a round table with Eagles podcast, Giants podcast. We were all collected
an NFC East one.
An NFC East round table, and basically we all kind of feel as though like the Giants could even be like 7 and 10, or like Washington could be also 9 and 8, 8 and 9. The Cowboys in that same bracket, so it could be like that's where I think it's. I'm very curious about this division because there's a lot of question marks. Like I was kind of mentioning earlier at the start of the show about Washington's schedule from last year compared to this year. Like I think the thing we can all kind of agree on is like the Eagles seem to be like as the main front runners, and I'm as much as that pains me to say that as a Cowboys fan, but it's true.
Yeah, and heading into the season, I think there's only 2 divisions out there that I would say all 4 teams have a legit shot to make the playoffs. And that would be the NFC North, where you had 3 of them make it last year, and the Bears will be better in theory. And then the NFC West, where I like the Rams, and Seattle, San Francisco, and Arizona may not be great, but they're all right there at the 9-10 win mark in terms of their total. And, a run here or there, any of them can make it. I don't think they're going to put more than 2 in, but you look at the NFC East, and I think you look at Philadelphia and Washington as returners, and Dallas, a long shot to make the playoffs, but not out of the realm of possibility if they have a good season. I mean, their win total is 7.5, so you win 2 more than that, and all of a sudden you're talking playoffs. And the Giants, to me, have no shot at making it. So I would only put 2 divisions out there, and you look at the AFC West. I don't think the Raiders have a chance. AFC South, I guess everybody has a chance because no one's good. But Tennessee's not good either. And then Cleveland's not going to make it. So it's 3 teams there. And then the AFC East, we won't even talk about. But I think comfortably you can say 3 teams have a shot in that division.
I'm glad that you kind of mentioned Tennessee because from what I've I try and look into all the other teams, see how they're doing, even though we're not be playing against them this year, etc. But I've seen a lot of good things of Cam Ward, etc. And I was like, do you think this could be like? Remember, unfortunately, I'm going to talk about the Eagles again, but they were like the first pick overall. They picked Carson Wentz, but they did end up going to the Super Bowl during that season. Do you think that's like? What's the odd chances of Tennessee like to really even be like contenders? Is it really that extreme?
I mean, I think Tennessee will be better. Obviously, getting a guy like Cam Ward, who we haven't seen play against NFL teams yet, it'll be better. And I think they were actually better than they were last year and the year before when they just didn't have a good season. Obviously, they changed coaches a year ago with Callahan. Their number's 5.5. Winning the division is 6-1, which, considering how that division is, they're not going to do it, but that's not – if you're going to pick one team to go from worst to first in a division, it probably – would it be Tennessee? It's not going to be New England. It's not going to be the Browns. It's not going to be the Raiders. It's not going to be the Giants. Not going to be the Saints. The Titans would be on the short list of teams that could go from fourth to first just because the division is terrible. But I'm not putting the Titans ahead of the Houston Texans. They're just not. Super Bowl odds are 160-1 for a reason. That's cheaper than the Jets. It's cheaper than the Giants. It's cheaper than the Saints. But it's also the Titans. And I think they'll be better. The 5.5 is another, again, 5.5 for them, 5.5 for the Saints, 5.5 for the Giants, 5.5 for the Jets, 5.5 for that's the Browns. That's the benchmark for bad teams. I would put the Titans near the top of that list. I think they'll be better, but I'm not sold on their coach yet. The coach last year brought them to 3 wins. They wound up with the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
You only could think that they would go up, but they're not a good football team, no.
Yeah, and you look as well that whole AFC South is in an odd place.
Yes.
Yes, so I'm being politically correct when I say that.
And I could see the Texans, Colts, or Jags winning that division, and you're getting 6-1 on the Titans. Like if you were looking for a long shot in terms of division odds, again, I'm not advocating to bet it, but the other last place teams are the Giants 25-1, the Saints 15-1. NFC West, anybody can win it, so that's tight. The Bears are 550. So you see, like the Bears to win that tough division is 550, and the Titans are 6-1. So they're very similar odds. Do you think the Bears can win the North or the Titans can win the AFC South? I would bet the Titans to win the South before I bet the Bears to win the NFC North. So in that respect, the Titans aren't a bad play there if you compare it to others. Jets 12-1, Browns 35-1.
I don't know if you've seen Caleb Williams in camp at the moment, though. It's not looking, as advertised. He was doing some target practicing, and he just couldn't get the ball in the bucket.
Right. So which one would you choose? The Bears we'll call it even because they're 556-1.
Yeah.
Who would you pick, the Bears to win the NFC North or the Titans to win the AFC South? Which one?
I'd probably go the Titans.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Because that's not just the schedule, but also because the divisions, I think it matches up better for the Titans.
Right.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, there's Paul gone.
Yeah, where'd Paul go?
I don't know. He's disappeared. But I mean, there we go. I mean, since he's gone, I'll carry the torch for now. We said we'd try and get it in 40 minutes or less. So we let that go. Where can they find 2 things? Where can they find your show? I know it's on BLEAV Network, but plug the show, and also where they can find you on social media.
Yep. Betting with Bearman is a betting podcast a couple of days a week on the BLEAV Podcast Network. Also have a 3-day-a-week betting newsletter, the Betting with Bearman newsletter, which can be found at bearmanbets.com. Follow me on Twitter at David Bearman, just as it's spelled right there on the screen. That's my Twitter X profile, and it'll be linked to the newsletter as well as the podcast and all sorts of good betting information.
Lovely. Excellent stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your time, mate. And we'll try and get you back on at some point in the season to see how the Cowboys' odds have changed depending on how it's been going.
Would love to do it again. Thanks for having me.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll leave it there, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
That's a wrap on the World's Team Podcast. Smash that like button and hit subscribe, Cowboys Nation. This ain't just America's team, it's your team.
Touchdown!
It's the world's team, only on BLEAV, where real fans live.
How about them Cowboys?